Is it possible within a cultural context in which there are so many dysfunctional paradigms, is it possible for people to sit down and how do they get through that with each other?
I can perceive you as you might want to be perceived and as according to the prevailing myth and ethos of our culture. That is, that you are a self-contained person who has it all together and everything's just fine with you. We are encouraged to convey that kind of image. I have to see through the image, in other words. I have to look past the cultural persona that you wear so that I can trust that I can communicate with something in there that can resonate to what is in my heart. People in this time experience suffering. We mask this suffering in our culture. So in order to make it a bridge for connection and occasion for love, I must look beyond the mask that you, not even deliberately,
I understand.
there's just, you've learned since you were a kid to show this self-possession and a lack of vulnerability. But the vulnerability is the gateway. The vulnerability is the door. Beyond the mask of business as usual, it's like a silent scream. So absolutely essential with the discomfort is communication. We are called upon to find community and to build it, even if it's with one other person. To find a place where truth can happen. To find the place where the truth of our experience can get expressed. If we simply attend and open to those painful contradictions and speak the pain, we discover, and you can discover it just like that we are able, if we are true to our experience, to say, yes, I suffer with my world. And then comes the extraordinary recognition. And that is that we are capable of suffering with our world. That we are compassionate beings. Out of our interdependence, compassion arises. And so we look around at what we're doing to stifle the voices and cries of compassion within us. And we turn to this addiction and that addiction, into manic consumption of one form or another. We go crazy trying not to hear our compassionate hearts.
How would you talk to somebody who is afraid of suffering? Not their own suffering, although they're afraid of that, but they're afraid of other people's suffering. They're afraid of getting too close to it. How would you talk to them?
The fear of coming too close to other people's suffering, which I have experienced and which, strongly, is really, when the chips are down, a fear of your own suffering. So we come back to fear of our own suffering.
Right.
So it is a matter, ultimately, of coming to terms with your own suffering. And the Bible, the Hebrew Bible, Greek Bible, throughout, uses only one basic image for suffering that always stands behind it, and that is birth pangs. You see? That's the one image that is consistently used. It means there's something to be born when you suffer with the grain. You see? Now the suffering against the grain is totally barren and useless. And not only useless, but destructive, life-denying, and so forth. So you want to suffer with the grain.
Say that, the with and against the grain.
Yeah,
what does that mean?
There's a suffering against the grain. When suffering comes up in your life, when a situation comes up that calls for suffering, then you can either go with it, and you will suffer, but you'll suffer with the grain, or with the flow, or with the force. Or you can say, no, and you are dragged along by your ears, but you are suffering as much or more because suffering cannot be evaded. It is part of life. But when you suffer with it, it will give birth within yourself to something new.
Don't you have to override something to do that? Because isn't there a tendency to resist suffering?
Resistance, yes, but that's the fear of life.
That's the fear of life.
Yeah, because life implies suffering.
What would you say to an Israeli Jew about how to see a Palestinian at this moment?
My sense is that we won't be able to overcome the distance and the differences between us if we can't grieve for each other. You know, the experience I had when I came to Hebron, came there to the grave of the ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. I walked into the office of the imam of the mosque, and I said to him, "Sir, I've come to ask your permission to visit the grave of my ancestors." He pointed at the guys with the Uzis outside and said, "But he asked me permission, come on." You know, it's like, I said, "You and your family have been keeping this holy site for many years, and it's only right that I should ask your permission." He got up from behind his desk, embraced me, walked with me, and showed me the nooks and crannies in the place. It has something to do with respect and with understanding that the other one hurts.